What is going on, everyone? My name's Boit, and I'm back with some more Age of Mythology. The Titans action spawning in the right side of the map in the blue color, playing as Isis. His name is Count Von Count. His opponent today in the red color, playing as Odin. His name is Mrboat. Mrboat the Great, Mrboat the Wise, Mrboat the chopping the wood down before moving over to his rhinos here. This game is a best of 5 for the relegations portion of the tournament. Now, you guys might be wondering, hey, I've been following this very closely, and Mrboat's lost and Count Von Count's lost already in the relegations. What's the dealio here? Well, basically, because of the fact that the Challengers League has gone on so long because of the playoffs taking obviously as much time as it needs to take to do it, we decided to implement just a little bit extra into the relegations for these players to stay relatively in shape and have a little bit more of that post-season practice to make it a little bit more fair than, say, have a champion sitting idle for a few weeks waiting for the first through 4 challenges to get decided so that they can then play their games against them. So that's the idea there. Best of 5. The winner will be a higher seed, so to speak. So the winner will play a lower champion. The loser will play a higher champion is the general the general shenanigans that's going to be happening here. But we do see Mrboat going with Odin. No surprises there. Count Von Count, on the other hand, he is playing Isis. Isis on the map, Watering Hole, is always going to be a scary pick for kind of any civilization to deal with, let alone the fact that this town center has got a beautiful amount of hunt on it. We'll see if Count is going to go for something a little bit different, where he decides to go for a 5-second town center. He has got himself 2 granaries already set up. Personally, I would recommend, if you've got yourself 1,000 food or 900 food or something like that, to not build 2 granaries here with Isis and just eat all of the hunt on 1 granary. Get yourself the most value out of your pharaoh. Shebitku. I think that's very, very important. Get you a lot more resources. The thing is, right, if you take a quick look at the difference in villager gather speed, and this is going to be telling 0.76 hunt gather rate, right, versus the Norse, which is 0.85. So it's already 0.10 behind, or 0.9 behind. And then you add on the extra 20% gather rate increase that Odin gets. And you go, hang on, that's a big, big difference. And you make up for that difference with the Pharaoh empowering. That's the that's what you have to do, basically. Otherwise, you're shooting yourself in the foot, basically. Anyways, we'll see how it all goes. We do see the Valkyrie, well, not Valkyrie, but the Freya coming out. Valkyrie will be coming through, but Mrboat not going for any Heimdall shenanigans. Count Von Count still not advanced, but it looks like he's going for a 430 here, and he's got the Pharaoh moving over to the gold here. So to me, this is looking like a 430 fast second town center. That's what it's looking like. Which is a great idea considering the gold mine is here, the hunt here as well. If you take a look at the map, this is closed off. A wall off this way with the monument protecting the forest so it can't be burned will be very, very nice. The hunt on the back here. This is going to be a really, really nice 5-second town center for Count Von Count. If that is indeed what he's deciding to do. He's got 8 villages on the gold here, houses coming up all across here. And we'll see exactly how it's going to all end up as Freya just about to pop, and Mrboat's going to have to decide what sort of classical age he wants to be doing here. We do see him doing something which we have seen a little bit of from the Loki players, but not yet from the Odin. This is Matrius's opening, where he goes 2 gatherers on gold and 2 dwarves on gold, and it allows him to do a lot of shiftiness with the villagers a little bit later. But an interesting start. We are seeing walls already getting thrown up here as the priest's going to be searching around. Villagers moving forward. It does look like Count is actually going for a town center in this game rather than that back one that I thought would have been the go there. We'll see if Mr. Boat's going to be ready to push forward onto that one or not as the Sphinx comes through. There is a Valkyrie and a Hearser over here as Count's simply just going to be retreating back with only 5 villagers on the town center here. It will take a hot minute for it to actually get up. We'll see if it's going to actually end up mattering here as Mr. Boat going to have to decide whether he wants to put pressure onto this or not. It looks like he's not going to be going for it. Going to continue to chase around that priest, potentially finish that one. Don't think it's going to be finished off. The Pharaoh gets pulled off there. Well, Count goes for a little bit of a villager pull to ensure the priest is alive and well there. As the villagers will be moving up to try and eat those rhinoceros there. He's got rhinoceros down the bottom as well as we see a barracks starting to come up here. The 2 down center immediate barracks here from ISIS is something we've seen a little bit, but mostly we don't see this mostly from ISIS. We see something a little bit more, how do you say it? Well, Set does this a lot better than ISIS because Set can immediately get hunt onto this town center. You can see that Count Von Count at this point's got 0 food in the bank. Whereas if he was Set, he would be immediately eating those gazelle on this town center, the free gazelle that he gets, or converting animals and bringing it straight into the town center, and life can be a lot easier. But obviously, playing as ISIS, things become just that little bit slower. As the walls are all set up, Mr. Boat might be looking to grab this town center a little bit later. We'll see what his plans are. He's making himself some raiding cavalry here. But that is about it for the time being. Armory getting thrown up on this position. And everything motoring ahead. But I'm a little bit worried here. If Mr. Boat is going for a kind of a heroic age timing attack against the ISIS, I'm a little bit worried because he's obviously got two choices. He can go for the Skadi, he can go for the Njord. If he goes to the Njord, Count Von Count does have prosperity to pump out a ton of priests to defend against the Mountain Giant and those Walking Woods really, really easily, as we already see Hands of the Pharaoh coming through as well. If Mr. Boat goes for Skadi here, well, it's not going to be a timing attack, so to speak, but it will be... he will be able to start making himself some very, very strong hill fort units, which might help him out in this game to push through. So we'll have to wait and see if that is indeed what he's going to be trying to do. And Count here, he's just pumping out a small amount of axemen at this point. As more units popping through here for Mr. Boat, as he is very slowly making these units. He's definitely trying to push for that heroic age as fast as he can. He's got himself all the population ready, but just not popping out those units just yet, as we see another barracks getting dropped here for Count Von Count. And the game is just going to be a slow start, but very, very shortly, the action will start commencing, I'm sure, here, as the heroic age. And we do see Skadi as the god of choice, so no crazy Njord timings. Njord, while it is really, really strong a lot of the time, it can be a little bit overzealous, as we see a monument getting put up here by Count Von Count as well. I love that preemptive play, playing around potentially, obviously playing around the frost, but also playing around a forest fire onto this location, on the back location. Opening up this base to be attacked would be really, really smart here. I think that the monument wouldn't protect this palm tree, so technically speaking, if Mr. Boat wanted to, he could burn this down and break through and attack this town center fairly easily here. But we'll see exactly what Mr. Boat's plan is. The one thing that playing these kind of techie openers is, from the Odin counterpart, from the Odin side of things, is you're just behind on villagers. And being behind on villagers means obviously less income, but some civilizations don't mind being that far behind on villagers. Like Egyptian, for example, being behind on villagers, because they've got that powerful Ancestors Eclipse timing push. They can kill a whole bunch of villagers because of that. But Norse being behind on villagers, can you really get that many villager kills? We'll have to wait and see, as we do see the hill fort coming up. Nephthys has already been clicked up here as the units, they see that hill fort coming through there. There are plenty of raiding cavalry here to deal with the axemen, as Count Von Count going to have to pull back. We do see medium spearmen already coming through here for Count. We have also seen Count doing these strategies before where he goes like mass barracks units into a huge Ancestors Eclipse timing push, but in this game it doesn't look like he's going to be able to quite hit that here, as he's going to hit the Nephthys and not really have that many units out. Part of me feels like he could have had a lot more units out at this point. You can see the gold, the food. Obviously, he's just used prosperity, but you could definitely have quite a few more units out. It's actually stopped villager production there as well for some reason in this town center, as the army of Mrboat starting to push forward. Taking out barracks here is going to be a really, really big hindrance for Count because he's only got the 2 of them. Lots of units are out here for Mrboat. He's got a population lead of about 20. As he breaks down one barracks, we do see the units now moving over onto the Migdol stronghold. If he can take that out, that'll be huge. But it is popping up really, really fast. We see the Pharaoh getting some good damage done onto the Frost Giant here, as it's slowly going to be getting taken out as more priests rolling in to the top position here. Villagers starting to get harassed by the raiding cavalry as well. That Migdol stronghold will get up as the villagers immediately start repairing it up. The problem here for Mrboat is he does not have access to Frost because of that monument to the soldiers, as the Sphinx is going to get taken out as well by that Huehue. How many Huehue are actually remaining here for Mrboat is the big question, as his army is getting absolutely decimated by a Scorpion Man here. This is getting so much value for Count von Count. Count von Count's town center. Count von Count's also going to be making some mercenary cavalry here to ensure he holds. And Count von Count, after all is said and done, he is up 11 villages. He has got himself 83 population. He's in the population lead now. He's got himself the Migdol. He's got himself the Axeman pumping out. He's making himself a second Migdol. Starting to put pressure onto this hill fort over here, as we see the Ancestors Eclipse getting dropped onto this location here to attempt to take out the hill fort and completely run Mrboat off the map. Mrboat going to be pulling all the way back to his home base, as we see a handful of minions getting sent running here to try and find some villager kills. There are villagers on this wood line, villagers over here on this gold mine here. Mrboat's got a ton of wood in the bank, but he has not spent it just yet. Losing this hill fort will be a very, very tough thing for him to deal with after all, he is trying to build out Ulf Jarls. He's only got the really 2 longhouses and a temple. He could be making Frost Giants, but he doesn't have the gold at the moment, as the units here searching around for stuff. We do see a market up in the corner for Mrboat already, as that hill fort still standing strong. The minions still haven't been able to find themselves all too many villagers here, as the minions over here get taken out, but they are getting a little bit of DPS done here as Count von Count dives in onto those Ulf Jarls to get just a little bit more damage done before the Ancestors finishes up. And the hill fort here with 200 HP, probably going to be getting taken out, finished up here. That one villager there joining in on the party to finish off the hill fort. As Mrboat now, he's going to have to figure out where to next. He's down on villager count. He's down on population, but he does have Frost still. And Frost is a really, really big god power to have, because obviously if you got a full population army and you Frost an Isis army, you Frost a Greek army, you Frost any army, you basically can surround that and get the majority of that army killed during that Frost to give yourself a very, very big advantage in the game. As Count von Count still scouting around, let's take a look at his perspective here. He's got no idea where this gold mine is. He does not see it. Obviously not at the bottom of the map, has to be at the top of the map. And Count here, he might start sending units up and around there to try and find that. As we see a Migdol, or not a Migdol, but a hill fort coming up here for Mrboat, as he's got to decide, does he make himself Huskarl? Does he make himself Jarl out of this hill fort? Lots of different options. As the Chariot Archers trying to push through onto this location. With those Chariot Archers, good micro there, 20 range, able to snipe, throw an axeman. Great garrison micro there from Mrboat, though, as he pulls those units to dodge that volley of arrows nicely. As the army of Mrboat looking to grab this town center at the top position there. We do indeed see a Frost getting dropped down, as Count von Count's push has been slowed. But the problem with this Frost is that, well, Mrboat, he is basically full population, but he's got half of his population right now on a town center as opposed to dealing damage to this army. The other thing that Mr. Boat could have done is sent 1 or 2 Deuterinos over here to wall this in. A nice wall here would be really, really big. But Mr. Boat not doing that. He's going to get that town center up. The villagers finishing up with the hunt over here. Getting his town center. He'll start villager production there. And that'll close the gap ever so slightly. I tell a lie. As Count Von Count now has himself 3 town centers. As the Ulfstark still popping through here. Starting to get that damage done. Count has to decide now. Does he just stay? Part of me feels like he can just stay here. But it looks like he's going to be attempting to retreat out on this position. We see some ghost buildings getting dropped down. Is that going to be enough? Looks like it's not quite going to be enough here, as the Ulfstark still trying to get in front here to cause as much grievance as we see the forest fire getting dropped onto this position, getting tons of damage there. Mr. Boat clearly imagined forest fire, but those units, after all is said and done, they really didn't take that much damage. Forest fire is a strong god power when used like that, but I mean, look at the units. Most of them are still kind of, well, they're all injured, but they're mostly all full HP, to some, or closer to full HP than as hurt as I thought they would have been. Basically, forest fire does about what, 2,000 hack damage, maybe 4. What is it? I actually don't know. Hold on. Can I see? How do I see? I have to go over here. It does 4 pierce and 40 crush damage. Wait, is that a second? Per second into range. So, those units running past there were all taking 4 pierce damage per second. And they were on the forest for, like, let's just say it was 5 seconds. So it was probably looking like all of these units were taking 4 pierce damage for 5 seconds. 20 damage each in terms of pierce. So it's like taking 1 volley of arrows each. It's not really that much, is it? It's really not that much for how hard it is to get value. Though that being said, if you get the units stuck on the forest really nicely, you can get a lot of value out of it, I guess. Alrighty. Mr. Boat now looking to get to that mythic age here. Count Von Count, he's on 4 town centers. 1, 2, 3, 4. He's got the hunt villages over here. He's got everything going. He's also going to be putting some docks down with the idea of potentially dropping siege ships to take out this back town center as well. It's going to be really, really tough. Mr. Boat obviously considering going, well, he is going to the mythic age, but he's not going for that stock standard Ragnarok here, going through tier instead. Idea being that he could potentially get a Jormungandr to defend himself as Watchtower's coming through, or not quite coming through. He needs to drop a dock down on this position here if he wants to defend against those docks easily, but not happening just yet. Bronze shields coming in as Count Von Count here is just, he's at 70 villages. Flood of the Nile coming through, irrigation coming through, masons also, stone wall, fortified town centers. Count Von Count obviously a little bit over preparing for the Ragnarok, which is definitely like, you kind of have to do it, and it's a good way. Going tier kind of plays into that fact why your opponent has to deal with a potential Ragnarok coming. So if you just go tier, they might waste some resources on things like stone walls and a whole bunch of other upgrades. As we do see some cabinets coming in, those are going to be very, very annoying to deal with. It's so much damage coming out of the cabinet here. As we see a dragon ship coming as defense there. Tier just about to come through here, but those chariot archers are just so strong for Mr. Boat to deal with here in this game thus far. As Mr. Boat pulls back, just trying to pump out units here, getting himself basically pure raiding cavalry out at this moment. He's got himself 53 favors, so there is a world where building Fenris Wolves wouldn't go astray. Count Von Count also getting himself the camel caravans as well. Starting a trade route from the top of the map. Hasn't quite walled that in just yet, but there's the mythic age for Mr. Boat as he does cast the Fimbulwinter, dropping onto every one of his Count Von Count's town centers here. As all the villages of Count Von Count basically will need to go idle here during this time, as The Yormadelver is out. We do see there's also a transport ship here. As Count builds himself the Migdol, builds himself the Siege Works. He is not taking this game slowly by any stretch. The unit simply just retreating back here. For Count von Count, he has dropped down to 161 population, but the Fimbulwinter is over. The villagers go back to work. I think Count sent them out a little bit early. Only really lost one villager during that whole ordeal, as the dragon ships are out. And Mr. Boat here, he can get himself the upgrade for those dragon ships to start targeting down these Migdols on the front here. And Count von Count, it seems at this point, has got no intention of going to the Mythic Age here. So Mr. Boat has got some tech advantage moving forward here as he's thrown down a hill fort onto this location with the large gold mine getting grabbed. And Count going to have to just retreat back for the time being, get his economy into working order after the very, very strong Fimbulwinter has been hit. The question really does become how, with all of the pressure on this location here, coming onto his town, onto Mr. Boat's town center, how does Mr. Boat ever manage to break through and get himself a third town center back in this game? The longer this goes on, the closer Count on Count gets to getting to 192 population in terms of villager count, in terms of economy, in terms of military as well, as the units here are managing to target down this very, very nicely. Full copper through for Count von Count, and it looks like just the shields are in for Mr. Boat, which does actually end up being advantage Mr. Boat after all is said and done, because effectively Count von Count only has got himself a handful of spearmen being made here. His actual economy in terms of farms here is suffering quite a bit. He does have a lot of hunt in the middle of the map still. Hunt over here as well that he could be grabbing. And he is also making himself trade, or he stopped the trade route to try and get himself some stuff back, as the ramming galleys are just pumping out onto this, these docks here, to try and defend against those dragon ships. As Mr. Boat gonna have to start making himself some longboats here as well, as we see a watchtower coming up here to defend this shore. The Migdol strongholds are here as well. Some walls coming up onto this position as well. As Count von Count, he's got himself 80 villagers. He's getting himself closer. Well, he's actually not really as high on the population as one might think, considering he's got so many villagers here. As the Ballista starting to take down some barracks here. The thing about Ballista against most civilizations is Ballista are great until your opponent has got a fast unit that can move in to take out those Ballista. The answer to Ballista for Egyptian is generally going to be Spearmen. They get bonus versus Siege. They got 5.0 speed. You can just run them in, take down those Ballista, and get a lot of value from it. So you've got to be really careful building Ballista against Egyptian. The answer, obviously, is towers and walls to defend your Ballista. And once those are up, then, well, let's be honest, there's really not a whole lot that the Egyptian player can do to kill those Ballista at those points. So they have to figure out a different way to attack. As the barracks getting cleaned up here. Units pushing forward, taking down those spearmen very, very quickly here. And Count has managed to get himself out quite a navy of ramming galleys. That's 14 population sitting on this water here, which kind of is making the land very, very equal to some degree here. As I mean, the problem with these Ballista are, if Count von Count at any point decides to just target them down, they've only got 100 HP. They will die very, very fast. 100 HP with 20% hack armor as well. They will die very, very fast. But at the moment here, it's looking like Mr. Boat is surviving nicely as Count retreats back underneath his Migdol stronghold. He's got himself a ways to get to that next age. Part of me feels like if Count von Count just goes Thoth here, meteors the Ballista, and then gets himself some siege ships, he's going to be in a really, really good position. The Count is losing units quite drastically here, taking these fights down population in a big way. As Mr. Boat here, he can start thinking about setting up towers. He's getting himself another hill fort here, which is going to be a big, big help, as those Ballista are just completely annihilating units on this battlefield. They're such a strong unit. I absolutely love that Norse players are using this one in a much bigger clip nowadays, because it really, really helps their pushing power against a whole bunch of stuff. as you still got to be very careful where you place them, though. He can also use a wall here on this position onto the hill fort and probably start being able to target down the town center on that location there as well. As counts at 155 population, the ballista getting targeted down by mercenary cavalry. The answer to mercenary cavalry, as always, is going to be towers. They cost no population. They die very fast to Crenellation's towers, regardless of if they've got watchtower or guard tower or whatever. So you definitely need to be building those. As maybe Mr. Boat has overdone it a little bit on the ballista. He's got 7 out at the moment and just not a whole lot of defense for them as count on count's population is starting to increase drastically here. Do we see anything coming out here? We do have a handful of chariots, a siege tower here as well. Count von Count is going to be going for an attack on this town center while this pressure is coming through. And this is the one weakness of the ballista, is that they're very, very slow. They can't reposition to defend that town center. And that's also the weakness of Norse. So if you're ever in this position against ballista, you're like, I can't kill the ballista. Just don't sit where the ballista are. Go and attack somewhere else. As he's still waiting on this. He's still waiting and waiting and waiting with quite a bit of population in there. Part of me feels like 2 siege towers while Mr. Boat isn't paying attention here. With those 4 chariots to potentially take out some villages would be more than enough. As we do see the towers now coming up, that's going to be so big, but Mr. Boat, he still doesn't even have watchtowers out as Burning Pitch is coming through. Burning Pitch gives a slight boost to crush damage, I believe, for the ballista. As Winter Harvest Quarry Engineers also coming in. There's another Migdol stronghold over here going to be getting taken out as the siege towers starting to move in. The villagers going to be getting targeted down here. Will Mr. Boat notice this or not? This can be the hardest part because your ballista are just so busy. You're so busy just trying to make everything perfect here with those ballista. As we see another siege tower rolling in. An elephant also coming in onto this position. A cabinet also coming in to help out as well. Count, remember, he's still only in the heroic age here. As the frost giants getting cleaned up over here. The villagers, they haven't noticed Mr. Boat about to lose his town center. And this is going to be a huge hit to not only his economy, but also the fact his military push. His push here is going to be slowed down drastically after this is all said and done. And not only that, the siege towers can also continue running in to this, or moving in to this position to take out this fortified town center as well. We do see Mr. Boat now realizing he needs to bring his villagers up. And Count here, he plays this game so different to everyone else. Like, most people here probably wouldn't try and grab this town center considering they're struggling as it is for resources. But Count is like, I just want to give me the town center. Like, what's better than 4 town centers? 5 town centers. 5 town centers is better than 4 town centers here. As Mr. Boat, he's got the score lead. He's killed off so many units, but he needs to kill off town centers and things like that. As now Count von Count is going to be getting himself this town center over here. The Pharaoh is in position, going to be able to take out that frost giant very quickly as well here. And with the ballista coming in, he can use those to take out the navy here if he wants. Look at the damage that comes through from these ballista onto those ships. Dead. If you're ever a Norse player, you're like, man, ballista siege ships, they're so strong. Just build ballista. Ballista kill siege in literally one hit. Look at that, dead. And look at that, dead. But that being said, he's just given Count von Count a lot of population back by taking those off on the land. As the town center up here getting shanked down by the villagers. The ballista trying to snake through here as they're actually getting caught out of position by some spearmen here. That's going to be a very, very tough thing to deal with here. As Count Von Count just about to get himself the town center up. And that's going to be a lot more population. The other thing that Count's done well here is because he's got the extra town center, he's pushing his economy up and up and up. He's already got 28 camel caravans as the Frost Giant just got onto it but didn't start the damage fast enough. And the fortified town center does end up finishing here with Count now being at 200. He's got 215 population, ladies and gentlemen, right now in this game to be used. Just absolutely insane. But Count Von Count, he's still got the ballistic here. He's still got everything he needs. Well, not really everything he needs, but he's still got a chance here to break through. He's got a road ahead of him, so to speak. How are his armory upgrades looking? The armor is what's letting him down here. He's got all of these resources in the bank. Whereas Count's also already got himself bronze mail as well. As if he gets the hill fort up, I'm not sure that's even going to be that much of an assistance. The other thing he could do is potentially sneak a dock over here. Siege ships could potentially hit maybe this town center here. Or getting himself a dock down onto this. And then, I don't know where he would put the dock up. But if you could sneak a dock up and get some Yormid Elvers up and control that water to potentially take this town center back down, that would be a difficult thing for Count Von Count to deal with. His Count here is actually no longer building those camel caravans anymore. I mean, he probably should be, but no longer building the camel caravans. We also see some walls coming up on the other side of the map as Count is saying, get out of the game, Mr. Boat. I got full control here. We don't want to see any more losses. And Count claims the first win. A solid first game here from Count. Mr. Boat almost managed to bring it back with the ballista push, but Count's activeness on the map, moving around, ensuring he can get somewhere here to put pressure on and catch Mr. Boat out of position, allowed him to stay alive here. A really, really interesting style here from Count Von Count, deciding to just stay heroic age. This is just a testament to the wackiness that is the old top players. Count Von Count being a very, very old school Age of Mythology player, and the style is very different to today. Anyways, if you guys enjoyed this one, please consider hitting the follow on the Twitch. If you're on the YouTube, hit that subscribe button, hit that button as well. I don't know what I'm saying. I've lost all brain power, and I'll see you guys in the next game.